Hey, this is Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, the host of The Game of Life, where everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Welcome to The Game of Life, where everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. As we begin our social justice and continue, really, our social justice series, interviewing incredible leaders in the law enforcement space, I have someone with me today that is just not only a consummate leader, leading the North Miami Police Department, but also a big brother, two-time big brother, and a good friend. Chief Larry Juriga. Chief, welcome to The Game of Life.
Gale, thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
it's great to be here with you and your show. Wonderful setup you have here.
Now, in addition to you playing Mr. Incredible on your days off, I mean, you've heard that before, correct?
I have heard that, yes, sir.
So, it's good to have Mr. Incredible in the studio today. But Chief, you are doing incredible things in all seriousness in the space of social justice, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. I have a fantastic team that I get to work together with, not only within the police department, the men and women there, but the community. They're great partners.
How long have you been with in law enforcement? It's not just with the North Miami Police Department, in law enforcement.
I've been in law enforcement, and it's all been with the North Miami Police Department since 1994.
Okay.
And it's been a great opportunity for me from day one. Met so many wonderful people. I jumped into it because my father had been in law enforcement and a couple of my uncles, but that's where I started.
It's interesting you mentioned your uncle in law enforcement, and what I love about podcasts is it's a conversation. And we've known each other for years. Didn't know your dad was in law enforcement, and you said and your uncle as well.
Correct.
My mentor, and his flag's in my office downstairs, the late Gary Claypool, Los Angeles County Deputy Sheriff, who taught me how to catch a football, who taught me a lot of things, just how to be a man. And so I'm reminded every day, because of my uncle who was in law enforcement, why I do what I do. And so it's an honor to not only honor him, but to have you in this studio today as well.
Well, I'm proud to be here with you.
Absolutely. So tell us more. And so where'd you grow up? Give us the backstory, because you didn't come out of the womb and all of a sudden you had a badge.
That is correct.
So talk to us.
Well, I was born in the city of North Miami.
Okay. Wow.
So that's where I started.
You don't do much outside of North Miami, brother. Have you ever had a dinner outside of North Miami?
Of course.
Okay, just want to make sure, because there was a pattern that was developing here on the podcast.
I noticed you picked up on that. So all around South Florida, spent a lot of time in Broward County, where I was raised. But my father was a police officer, and as well as a couple of my uncles. And my dad was my mentor, my role model from day one. My best friend to this day. He was the best man at my wedding, and just what a tremendous human being he was. And he taught me about life, taught me about how to treat people, and that's the way I wanted to go from as far back as I can remember, to be a policeman.
Wow. And when I think about so many of our kids that we serve are from single female-headed households, and to hear about the impact of a dad and how you truly are paying it forward and honoring your dad, that's very special. And as I sit here as a father of four, it's not lost on me how special it is to have that positive role model. Not only not far from home, but in your home as well. What are some of those values that he taught you, Chief?
It really makes a difference having a father in the home, and that's where big brothers and big sisters is so important. But some of the things my dad specifically taught me, first impressions, are key.
Yes.
Your name and your reputation are of utmost importance, because once that gets blemished, it's hard to fix your name. It's hard to fix the reputation you have. So those were a couple of the things. And then the third main thing he said, treat everybody, from the person with the lowest job to the person with the highest job. Treat them all with the same amount of respect, and you'll see that'll come back to you. So those were some of the things he taught me, and used them in grade school, used them in high school, used them as I went through college, and now in the real world, in life.
Every single day you're using that right now.
Correct.
And what a perfect segue into social justice. I mean, a term we've used, obviously, with our partnership with the National Football League, inspire change, and locally with the Dolphins, football unites. Shout out to Jason Jenkins, the entire Dolphins staff. You've met Jason, I think, a few times.
Yes, dozens of times. Jason is a tremendous person. He is at every event.
I don't know if he goes home.
It's incredible the work he does. What a great champion for social justice, for interacting with children. And we're very fortunate to partner with him, with the Miami Dolphins, with Football Unites. The vision is very similar to what we're looking to do. Make the positive changes in our community, engage with the community, and then give those opportunities to the children that wouldn't normally have the chance to do certain things.
No doubt about it. But I really think, and Jason is going to get a copy of this podcast, just so you know.
Okay.
But I really think Jason has a twin brother, because there's no way. I mean, every day he's at an event. So I think it may be triplets. I don't know.
I think
but
you're right.
Something's going on.
I think you're right.
I need you to investigate
and every time we can open a case on that.
Please,
but every
open a
time you
case.
see him, he looks like $1 million.
No doubt.
Tie all the way up, never tie down. Tie all the way
But there's
up.
3 of them. That's why.
I got you.
So Jason, you're going to get a copy of this podcast, and so here we go. So in terms of social justice and what you're doing, personally and professionally, Chief, you're the chief of the North Miami Police Department. What does social justice mean to you and your department?
Well, social justice to me means the equal distribution, fairness for all opportunities for everybody in the community, regardless of where you were born, where you happen to be born, regardless what neighborhood you happen to be born in, regardless whether or not you have mom and dad in the house. Some people don't have any parents in the house.
Right.
And regardless of that, there should be equal distribution of opportunities. And that's what we're pushing, equal distribution of benefits throughout our community, throughout our social community. And that's what we're pushing for. And unfortunately, as you see, and that's the reason we're having so many discussions, that's the reason why Football Unites is so important, because there is social injustice.
Yes.
And we need to work to push forward, keep fighting it so we can get justice.
Not only from a personal standpoint, I've shared this with many chiefs, personally having law enforcement officers in my family who mentored me, and now to be president and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, not only does it honor them, but it honors my mom who raised 2 boys on her own, parents divorced when I was 2. But as I talk to you and I talk to other law enforcement professionals about social justice and with so much that can be on social media, on TV, on the internet, as it relates to the relationship between law enforcement and communities of color in particular in the social injustice space, I am just, again, honored to be able to not only talk about it, but we can talk about what we're doing together to move the needle, to build relationships. And how important is Bigs in Blue within that social justice space as we partner together?
Bigs in Blue plays a critical role. Just in my personal experience with Bigs in Blue, the 2 littles that I've dealt with, that I've had the great opportunity to interact with, and now we're friends. We're not just formally through Bigs in Blue, now
Right.
informally we're still friends. But both of my littles came from broken families. My current little lives with his mom. His dad, he still has the opportunity to see his dad, but he lives with his mom. My first little lived with his grandparents. He didn't have his parents. So the need for the father figure, the need for the big brother was really there. And for them to come in and have the opportunity to interact, not just with me, and through this program, when the littles, for those who don't know, when the littles come to the police station, they not only interact with their individual bigs, but they have the opportunity to interact with all the police officers. And they can see that we're not only police officers, we're fathers, we're brothers, we're friends.
That's right.
We like to joke around. We like to have a good time with each other. And so they get to see that. And things that I think, this one of the things I learned from both of my littles is the things that I think might be concerning them, surprisingly, weren't the things.
Give me an example. Which
I
one of these?
I tried to,
was this
my
Corey?
first, no, this is Jordan. my
Jordan,
first one.
okay, your first little brother.
And so I said, okay, strapping young man, tall, very athletic looking. So I started throwing out the sports and throwing out different discussions about that. And he finally looked at me and said, hey, I'm really into the books. I'm really into my studies and stuff like that. So I'm making this assumption he's all about the athletics.
Right.
And we started getting into different discussions about books and about families and about what he's doing to take care of his family. He's a junior in high school, and he's here talking about taking care of his little brother and sister like a grown man, like a father would already
That's
do.
right.
Correct. correct. So that was one of the things I learned. But
So he taught you is don't make the assumption.
correct,
You
correct.
can be in the books and be 6 foot tall and stocky guy.
Start looking at him saying, okay, we're going to talk about sports all day, and it has nothing to do with
How
that.
about that?
It has to do with the intellect and the fact that he's into the literature and different things like that.
Powerful. And what about Jordan?
Well, that was Jordan and
That's right, Corey. That's right.
And so Corey's into a variety of things. He's a sophomore,
Right.
Where Jordan was a junior. Corey's a sophomore, so he's still into the younger, the more youthful things. I'll put it that way. Where when you become a senior, I think you get a little more advanced and start looking into the next stage of your life. So he's still dealing with high school and enjoying high school and loving high school.
That's great. And one of the things, for those listening, we're here with Chief Larry Juriga, Chief of the North Miami Police Department, a big brother, on his working with his second little brother. And what's great about the North Miami Police Department, Chief, when we first met and we started that Bigs and Blue program, we came to North Miami. Now, what was you were not chief at that time. What was your rank at that time?
I was an assistant chief back then.
Assistant chief. But you were clearly a champion. You stood out in the room, I'll just say. But you immediately signed to be a big brother. And I think at that time it was 1 hour a week in the school.
Correct.
That's what we call Bigs in School. And so for those listening who want to join the team, the Football Unites team, Bigs in Blue, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, well, you don't have to be a police officer, but you can certainly protect and serve these kids through the lens of mentorship. And 1 hour a week in the school. But now your police department's a part of our School to Work program. Once a month, high school students are transported to your headquarters.
To our headquarters, correct.
And again, just tell folks that are listening, again, the frequency is once a month, so corporations and companies listening, you can certainly be a part of the team. What's that typical day look like for your littles?
And for those who are listening, I'm telling you, it is the Big Brothers and Big Sisters makes it so convenient for the staff members. We're running a full police department here,
right.
and we're able to do it. It's once a month. They come to you. You have greater interaction in the morning for an hour or so as you're eating breakfast. Then you go and you can have individual time. Then you have group time. And for me, I really love the group time, and I'll get back to that in a second. And then you have lunch. And by the time you're having lunch, you're going, can 5 hours already be done? Can 4 hours already be done? How did this happen so quickly? And you're looking forward to the next time. So as you were mentioning, for the corporations, for the other departments, take the opportunity, take this challenge and do it. It's such a great and rewarding experience, not only for the littles, but for all the officers. We have about a dozen that come into our department each month, and we do a variety of things. And it's the socialization, not just with me and my little, but it's the socialization with me and the other littles, with our officers and the other littles. And this coming month on the 20th, we're getting to the police station to begin with. And my little mentioned to me, he said, at the last event, he says, never been fishing in my life. Well, we don't have a fishing pond at the police station, so we're going about a mile east. We have a bunch of fishing poles. All the officers are coming Marine Patrol, and so we're going to take the whole group. We're going to have breakfast in the morning, then we'll go out and we'll go fishing. Hey, whether we catch anything or not, it doesn't matter. You're out there
He's never
fishing.
been there. That's right.
Give it the opportunity, and that's one of the things I always did with my dad. My dad would take us out early in the morning, late at night, and you'd go fishing, and it's not that you're catching something, but it gives you some time to sit there, and you're talking, and you're working together, and you can solve all the world's problems during a 2-hour fishing trip.
Well, we got a lot in common, Chief, because it was my grandfather that I remember pulling up in front of the house. He wouldn't even hit the horn. He just knew, 6 a.m., and I would come out with, well, he'd bring a bucket. He had the tackle box, went down to the Maumee River in Toledo, Ohio, and just sitting there. Sometimes just the priceless conversation and that quality time together. Right. So as I think about you and your little brother and those officers, about a dozen officers fishing with some kids, many of whom have never had the opportunity to have that experience with somebody they could trust. And now the fact that you all are officers and you protect and you serve that community, but you talk about community policing at another level.
It's really a great chance, like I said, for us as well, not just for the youngs and the littles, but for us. And you see the officers' faces, the command staff faces. They're going, "This is great." Policing is oftentimes looked at as police officers are the good guys, and they're out catching bad guys. That's not what law enforcement is about these days. In the North Miami Police Department, we interact with the community. We provide opportunities for our youth. And every now and then, if somebody's hurting somebody, we're going to arrest somebody.
That's right.
But that's not our job. Our job is to build the community trust. Our job is to engage with the community. And again, protect them. If somebody's hurting them, then somebody's going to need to go to jail. But otherwise, it's all about our engagement with them. And the men and women, they love it, whether it's throwing footballs around with the kids, driving down the street. There's nothing that makes me happier to be driving to and from a meeting, to and from an event, and I look out and I see 2 of our officers standing at a basketball court shooting hoops in uniform with the kids, standing on a street corner throwing the football up and down with the kids. And that's what really makes me proud of our crew.
What I love about what you're saying and what you're doing in partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters, brother, is this. It's just like with the car, it's the preventative maintenance. You're making an investment. When something goes wrong, you got to fix it. But at the end of the day, the smooth ride, get my illustration now?
I do.
The smooth ride is really based on the time and effort you put in to keep things working well. And what better than relationships with our kids? When I think about the North Miami Police Department and your time there, and now as chief, and I don't know if I've ever formally congratulated you on being chief, so congratulations on that. Certainly well earned and well deserved.
Thank you.
What's your vision for the North Miami Police Department?
My vision is, I mentioned a couple of them. My vision is for us to be completely engaged with the community. So it's not the police department and the community. It's not us and them. Mm-hmm. It's us together. Yes. Community events, you'll see at all community events, you'll see our police officers there. Not just standing on the side with their arms crossed, but engaged. Police department events, our doors are open. I tell people at our events, I tell people at our meetings, our police station is their police station. Come by, not just for our event. Come by and walk in and say, hey, Larry here? Stop by and say hello. And you'd be surprised how many people do that, and it's wonderful. Driving down the street, we have all the informal interactions. You see a father and a daughter walking along, jump out and say, hey. We have little giveaways. We give little treats
Absolutely.
Here. So these children see the policemen jumping out, and they're not jumping out as the jump out squad. They're jumping out to come over and shake their dad's hand and to hug them. And it's wonderful to see how contagious it is with our staff members. We have people working in the schools. We have people working in the parks and just throughout the community. It's really a great opportunity for us to engage with our community. So that's what my vision is, for us to be completely engaged, trusted by the community. Because if they're trusting us, they're going to call us if they see something that looks out of place. Mm-hmm. They're going to call us and say, hey, you might want to check this guy.
That's right.
He might have been the one who did A, B, or C. And so then that'll help us prevent other crimes from happening or other concerns from happening. So it's a great partnership, both sides, from the community and us, and we unify as one.
We're happy to have you on the team, Chief. And I tell you what, when you think about that vision, I was recently in a leadership class and speaking to a leadership class, and a vision statement is that big picture. And so what a big picture. And that big picture includes Big Brothers Big Sisters, North Miami Police Department, NFL Inspired Change, Football Unites, social justice in all the right ways. But I need you to send a message back to one of your team members, Major Belcher. Did I get his rank correct? I never want to mess up anybody's rank.
That's correct. I have to call him Sir, actually, when we have meetings. Sir Major Belcher, yes.
So you please tell Sir Major Belcher, who will get a copy of this podcast as well. See, this is how you do it with the podcast. I had to remind him that I'm the host. And I had to almost go Stephen A. Smith on him and just saying, hey, you need to relax a little bit, because he was kind of taking over my podcast. So
we watched it. We actually watched it. And I saw you grab the mic the one time and pull it away from him.
I said, brother, you got to let me do my thing.
But he is at the forefront of
he's
being
awesome
a champion.
Guy and a big brother, too.
He's a big brother. He's involved with the Football Unites. He's always involved with 5,000 Role Models of Excellence.
Yes.
And these are all things, the partnership between all the groups.
That's beautiful.
Big Brothers and Big Sisters being at the forefront with us. It's just, it's wonderful. And you interact with so many people. You bump into somebody that's dealing with 5,000 role models, and then you see them again at Football Unites.
That's exactly right.
And the more people we get involved, the better our community is going to be.
And it's not about competition. It's about collaboration.
100%.
Shout out to my dear brother, Paul Wilson, Frederica Wilson with the 5,000 Role Models. We've had many little brothers that are putting on red ties. But the beautiful thing, they're putting on degrees. They're putting degrees on the wall. Fantastic. And they're doing what they need to do. So police departments everywhere, not just North Miami Police Department that you lead, but all the chiefs that are really in the same space you're in. And so as we prepare for the big game in next year, you ready for the Super Bowl?
I'm ready. I think South Florida's ready too. It's going to be a great event. And You never know, down the road we'll get those Dolphins back in it.
I think just we can always, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And one of the things I'll say to you before we close an upcoming podcast, we're going to talk about Super Bowl activities. Matter of fact, my very next podcast is going to talk about Super Bowl breakfast, activities leading up to the Super Bowl. And all I can say, Chief, is thanks for being on the team.
Well, thank you. And your leadership in this community, your leadership with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, you're the one, by coming out to our department, you're the one that pulled us in. You're the one that convinced me and said, hey, this is what's a great thing to be a part of. And I thank you for that.
Well, brother, you know how I feel about you.
Appreciate it, Gale.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Larry Juriga, North Miami Police Department. He does do things outside of North Miami, but not a lot. But the bottom line is what he's doing through Bigs and Blue, Inspire Change, Football Unites, is something that is so rewarding and so beneficial to our young people. 305-644-0066 or www.bbsmiami.org. Get on the team, because in the game of life, everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Let's go. This is the Game of Life.